Welcome to Talk Safety to Me, a podcast from the North Dakota Safety Council, where we discuss safety at home, in the workplace, and in our communities. Recorded at the Radio Access Studio in Bismarck, North Dakota, you can find Talk Safety to Me on 102.5 FM or online at radioaccess.org or ndsc.org.
Hello, I'm Chuck Claremont, the North Dakota Safety Council's Executive Director, and more relevant to you, the host of Talk Safety to Me, the North Dakota Safety Council's podcast, and Tia, our Senior Marketing and Communications Manager. She's going to be producing today, and we appreciate that. I think Tia told me we're on like episode 30, which is fantastic. And today we've got the pleasure of being joined by Teresa Tom, the Southwest Region Coordinator for Vision Zero, and Leah Kelm, the Southeast Region Coordinator for Vision Zero. So welcome, ladies, to our podcast. We appreciate you guys joining us, and you guys look fantastic. Your backgrounds all look good now that we've got everything all organized, and you guys' hair looks great. Everything, we're ready to go. But thanks for joining us. And April's Distracted Driving Month. And just one of the topics we're going to talk about today is distracted driving. But when we get into what Vision Zero does and how our two groups really collaborate and align on a shared mission, I think it's important for us to kind of talk that first question, the easy question, and start with the basics, saying, could one of you just provide a basic overview or brief overview of what Vision Zero is and what do you do?
Yeah, I can give that answer. Vision Zero is North Dakota's initiative to get down to zero traffic fatalities and serious injuries on our roadways. The goal of zero fatalities is not only attainable, but it's also vital. When it comes to your life or the lives of your family and friends, we're aiming for zero fatalities because every life matters.
Very good. All right, that's a good start. Do you ever think that, I hear a lot of people talk about zero. Is that even realistic? I know it's not on the script, but it feels to me like that's always a question that comes up when people say, I think even Lorraine Martin, who's the president of the National Safety Council, she brought that up at our conference when somebody asked her the question. And so I'm sure both of you have probably been asked that question before. CT, I already started them off script. I apologize, but I think that's an important question we ask. That is zero fatalities, is that even a realistic goal?
And in the past, unfortunately, I mean, I've heard that from people too. Is it realistic? Should we set something more realistic? Should we be called Vision 15? I mean, those are things that people have said to us, but the thing we say over and over again is, how many people is it okay for you to lose in your life? How many people do you not want to go home at the end of the day? Even if it does seem like a lengthy goal, it is one that we for sure want to meet because every one of those people matter.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Yeah, it is.
I appreciate that. So, to me, that's what you guys are doing is absolutely incredible. And Vision Zero hasn't been around like crazy long. I remember, I think it was the last Governor Burgum's group that started it, if I recall, right? It's just been the last probably 5 years plus. And I think anybody living in North Dakota probably has maybe a little bit of a good grasp on what Vision Zero is, as used for as you guys complained or talked about it here. But you guys do a lot of events every year. And one of the events specifically that I know Tia has mentioned here in our script is you routinely do what's called Click It for Coffee. So how does your team work with this to create these relevant events that appeal and engage and maybe talk even specifically about that one event, Click It for Coffee?
Yeah, so our Click It for Coffee event, it is held, it started with a few locations across the state, and now in every one of our regions, we have at least one coffee shop that's participating. And the idea came from during Click It or Ticket, which is usually every May, you're going to get that ticket if you're not wearing your seatbelt. So how do we incentivize people to buckle up? How do we reward the people that are following the rules, the ones that do want to make sure that they're safe in their vehicle? So Click It for Coffee was created. And each coffee shop, it's awesome. They are able to pick what works best for them. We know that some coffee shops, they're only able to give 50 cents off a drink. Other coffee shops, they want to give, $2 off your next visit. So we work with these local coffee shops to find what works best for them. And then on the day of the event, during that set time, anyone that comes through the drive-through with their seatbelt on, they receive either a discount that day or a discount for the future, or sometimes both.
I heard a good one too. I was looking this morning, I was doing some research. Click It for Cops, or Click It with a Cop, was it? What is that one about? That seemed like a really cool one. I think wasn't that one too you have?
Was it
for
Coffee
Cops?
with a Cop? That one?
Oh, Coffee with a Cop. Thank you. That's it.
Yeah, so Coffee with a Cop actually was with West Fargo Police Department, and they
Okay.
invited me. That program has been going on for years and years. And I believe I was the first civilian person to be able to be one of the speakers. And I played it off because it had just been law enforcement appreciation, that I was giving them a break. But it was awesome because we were able to talk about traffic safety and talk about Vision Zero. And then at the end, we did have an officer talk about what happens if you do end up in a crash. What happens, what are my next steps? Who do I call? What do I do? So it was a great collaboration with the West Fargo Police Department.
I just kind of wanted to know how you guys work with the public. How do you kind of take a month like Distracted Driving Month to try to connect with the community, to try to make it bigger than just the name of Distracted Driving Month?
We work by spreading awareness through campaigns. We send out press releases. For me personally, when I go out and I talk about distracted driving, I tend to bring up putting your phone away. Phone use is a big one that people associate with distracted driving, but it comes in many forms. It can be eating, it can be picking up a drink. Any of that can be considered distracted driving. And then when I go and give presentations, I also encourage people to, if they have an iPhone, I'll have them go to their settings on their phone, and they can change their focus settings, and they can select driving on their focus and change it to automatic. And as soon as they start driving, that puts their car in driving mode, and then they won't get unwanted messages popping up. So that's one of the ways that I encourage people personally to prevent distracted driving. It's very underreported in our crashes too, and just in general. But I'm sure when you drive around Bismarck, if you look over to see the car beside you, you'll see them texting. That's not uncommon. So we try to get distracted driving messaging out in any way that we can, because it is common, even though it is very underreported.
Yeah, and like Teresa said before about, it is more than that phone use. It's anything that takes your hands off the wheel, your eyes off the road, or your mind off driving. It can be reaching in the back seat. It can be changing our music. And oftentimes we do see, the phone use is the number one. And it's something that oftentimes we can see by looking over at the driver next to us. But it is more than that. So we do try to educate that as well during Distracted Driving Month. So we talk more about, maybe there's those cognitive distractions. Like, what if you have something on your mind? Maybe it's more of that auditory, having that music way too loud, or visual, again, looking at a phone, or sometimes we have people that look over and read something on their seat. So we really try to spread that information. And Teresa and our other coordinator, Joey, they actually both went on morning shows and did something called the Tricky Texting Challenge to show people that they can't multitask. So we really do try to push some other activities throughout this month. I know one of our Vision Zero schools, Lemoore, they did a texting tree. So during this month, each one of those student leaders, they ended up getting a certain amount of students on their tree branch, and it couldn't be the same as the other tree branches. And every Friday, they send out a reminder message, either via text or Snapchat, to drive distraction free this weekend, keep the Lobos safe. So again, it might not be statewide, but we're also doing things in our regions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great.
I'll also add to that and say, like, if you absolutely have to send a text, like, just pull over to the side of the road or into a parking lot and send your text, and then you can go on your merry way and know that you did the right thing and know that you can focus on the road 100% of the time instead of being distracted.
Yeah, a lot of great suggestions. I know when you talk about distracted driving, and one of the pieces, like in terms of getting the information out, is you use stories. And fortunate and unfortunate, one of our former employees, Melanie Johnson, who's a great friend of ours, she was with the North Dakota Safety Council for a long time. She was involved in a serious incident where almost got killed on the roadway, and she was on a campaign for you a while back for Vision Zero. So when you look at that, and it was a distracted driver actually on I-94 that was the issue with, where was a semi that I think it was pulling a big piece of a farm equipment, and he started veering over in that lane. Actually ended up running a piece of the equipment into the side of their van. And I mean, I watched that video that you put together for it, and literally I get tears every time I listen to it, it's that emotional of a thing listening to Melanie. No, and I know her so much of her thinking that I think I can just close my eyes and picture her saying, I thought I was going to die. That's going through my head time and time again. So it's great to be able to utilize a story like that of people because it's a positive story and the people still lived. How important are those stories in terms of impacting the change in people when it comes to distracted driving?
Oh, they're very important. Sometimes people might just see a number when we talk about our North Dakota roadway fatalities, and these personal stories bring to life the devastation of how just one poor decision could alter a family's life. And many people think these stories will happen to them, but these testimonies bring awareness that car crashes can literally happen to anyone, even if you're the best driver in the world. And thankfully, in Melanie's case, everyone was physically uninjured in the crash. But
Right.
like you said, in the video, you can see Melanie is so emotional as she recalls how lucky she is to narrowly escape a fatal crash and losing her family. So I would say that these testimonial stories like really bring to life our statistics that we have. Like 100 people die on our roadways every year. And I think testimonies like Melanie's really bring that to life of that's someone you knew, that's someone you know. And seeing her talk about her experience really brings that to life. So yeah, they're very, very important.
Sometimes I was talking to somebody from the National Safety Council, and, in order for them to think about not answering your phone or not texting, they have a picture and they have a picture of their family, up above that. They don't obviously focus on it while they're driving, but when they think about it and they see that family member, it's like, okay, whether it's speeding, whether it's distracted driving, whether it's whatever you're doing, what is it? It's your family you want to get home to safely, and not only your family, but somebody else's family potentially too. So I know that's one of those pieces that people think about quite a bit too. Also during distracted driving months, the National Safety Council, which we're a chapter of, they have this thing called Just Drive Pledge. You can go to their website. It's at ndsc.org/just drive or nsc.org/pledge. And you can sign this pledge for being distracted free for a month. And I know you do something similar to that. Can you talk to me about what Vision Zero does in terms of that pledge potentially?
Yeah, we have the Buckle Up Phone Down pledge on our website for anyone to take. And the pledge is really simple. When you get into the vehicle, you buckle up and you encourage others to do the same. And if you're a driver, you put the cell phone down every trip, every time. So you can go to our website, and if you click on our partners page, you can click on that, and then we're going to have like a list of all the ways you can partner with us, and Buckle Up Phone Down is one of the things listed in blue. And you can click that, and you can join either as an individual, or if you want your business to take the Buckle Up Phone Down pledge, you can do that too. I know you guys were interested in that and took that pledge as well as North Dakota Safety Council. So thank you for taking that pledge and having your whole company take part in that. And
Buckle Up Phone Down.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. I like that one.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Tia. Sorry.
No, you're all good.
My mouth shut, I know. I don't get to ask all the questions.
I feel like, when we talk about trying to affect change, one of those things is for sure young people. When they start driving, it's what do we do to really get them involved in great decision making, better behaviors, all those kind of things. So I wanted to ask you guys about Vision Zero schools. How did that program really start and evolve?
Yeah, so that program actually began in 2019. So Vision Zero began in 2018. The program came right afterwards. And the program is a peer-to-peer program where inside the school, that's where those traffic safety leaders, they're students, because we understand it's a lot easier to talk to your peers about issues than it is to have, an adult come in and tell you everything that could go wrong. And we do have 15 Vision Zero schools in the state. Oftentimes we do get the question of why only 15? There's about, 200 schools in the state. Why only 15? Because it really is, it's not necessarily a set it and forget it program. Those students, it's anywhere from, 4 to 6. Those students become the traffic safety leaders in the school. And they're the ones that people can look up to for messaging. They do PSAs, they do photo shoots. They also help plan all the events. We also, with that, with the planning of the events, as coordinators, we understand that we can be that resource for them. What 15-year-old knows how to put on a full event all by themselves without resources? So we're happy that we're able to, each of us have a few schools, and we, work with them monthly to help what they think is going to work best in their school happen. We understand that every school is different, which is really cool part of the program. We're able to change it so it really fits with their area of the state. And they pick a traffic safety emphasis. Some of our schools are distracted driving schools. That's really what they focus on because that's what they're seeing in their parking lot. We have a speed school that they were seeing that in their parking lot. And we also had data to show it was an issue near their school. So we, again, try to have those messages pushed out by the students as much as possible. We also had 2 students of our Vision Zero school program. This last month, actually, they spoke at the National Lifesavers Conference on roadway safety in Long Beach. So that was pretty awesome for 2 of them to be able to experience that and just share the program because they really do feel passionate about it. They take pride in it. And oftentimes I hear from parents, my student or my child wasn't very outgoing. And, this program has helped them. Or my child was only into sports, so I wanted them to, get to be a part of something else as well. So we get that feedback that it's something that they really make their own.
Schools, get examples of some schools that are part of it.
Yeah, so some different schools. We have, in my region, we have Cheyenne, and then we have Northern Cass, and we have Lemoore. Teresa, I believe, has Wing, Flasher. She has Standing Rock as well. A couple other ones. We have Delax Burlington, Killdeer, Oaks. So, and that's just, a few of the 15.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's some small schools in addition to some larger ones with West Fargo, Cheyenne.
Yep.
Depending upon the kids that are interested. That's great. Here's another topic that, here's a fun one I know that people like talking about. April 20th. No, I did not know this. April 20th is also this important date to some people and considered a counterculture holiday. For anyone that doesn't know, it's a popular in marijuana culture as a day that's dedicated to cannabis consumption and advocacy. And I think the reality of it is that marijuana is here to stay in most states. I know in North Dakota it's not approved yet, but I was just in Minnesota and man, there's dispensaries and everything else going on. And so if we're going to take as a state, if they're going to take the step to allow that to be part of the law that you can do it, what does Vision Zero think of this? I know it's not a law in North Dakota yet, but to me, if somebody's going to smoke cannabis or whatever you need to do, however you need to take THC, sometimes those people drive. And I think that's the issue that comes up with us is in this specific thing with distracted driving is saying, hey, if somebody's going to drive and you involved in marijuana, are you impaired? And is there something that Vision Zero is doing about it and looking at that, even though it's not an approved law in North Dakota?
Okay, so with obviously it not being legalized, we still do have medicinal that is legal. And we also know that we have people from other states that drive through our state. We have some major interstates. We know that it happens. But unfortunately, it seems like it's not a big deal culture around cannabis. And so we really want to make it clear that not everyone is using cannabis. It's something that, that only a few select people are doing. But another thing that I think a lot of people aren't aware of is that we always hear the phrase, it's not your grandparents' weed. So it's not the stuff from the 80s. It's so much more potent. There's going to be higher levels of THC, and it's actually causing, some different physical symptoms, such as maybe even psychosis, that weren't there with the old cannabis. And as a driver, sometimes, unfortunately, we hear, I drive better when I'm high. That's not true ever. So no matter what anyone tells you, no one drives better or even the same when they're high. Depending on the amount that you're going to ingest, smoke, it's in some way going to impair your motor skills. It's going to impair your judgment, your attention. It slows down that reaction time. So again, across the state, some different things that we're doing. Teresa and I, we have marijuana goggles through kind of like the drunk goggles with the marijuana ones so that we can do some different activities to show that that executive function isn't going to be at the level that it needs to be driving. Also, Vision Zero works with law enforcement, and they have DREs, so drug recognition experts, to be able to tell if for some reason someone, on that roadside seems like they're impaired, but that BAC on their PBT in their hand isn't coming up with anything like a 0.08 anything. Yep. They're the ones that can really recognize what type of drug people are on, using different things like blood pressure, muscle tone, and people that aren't DREs, just law enforcement in general, are getting more education on it. We also have some Sotoxa machines throughout the state, which those actually are an oral fluid project. And so those, if the person on the roadside, they use a swab and it goes into the machine and it'll be able to tell. I believe there's 5 different drug categories that can tell that someone is on. So again, it is coming our way, it seems, but other states thankfully have figured out a lot with the process. So we're able to learn from the things they wish they would have done differently. So I can't necessarily speak on behalf of Vision Zero, what the correct route would be for us to prepare for it, but we're doing what we can.
Mm-hmm. And we're educating even our young people, because all of our high schools are experiencing some type of involvement with marijuana. And so at our events, Driving Skills for Success, we're sure to have the marijuana goggles. And the marijuana goggles don't show you what it's like to be high or anything like that. They just have a green tint to them. And then the activities that we do with the students help them understand wearing these goggles and trying to catch a red ball is going to alter their decision making. So it's a way to help bring awareness to marijuana without actually having them have to do it. And so it's a great tool for us to talk with young people about it.
And the drunk goggles that most people are familiar with, that's going to be visual. It's going to give them a visual representation. The marijuana goggles, they give more of a cognitive. Obviously, as Teresa said, they have that green tint, which no one's seeing green when they use cannabis, unless they're really using some sort of potency I'm not aware of. But they do give a good example. And at the very least, it helps us start that conversation.
Another question we have here is, there's a lot of things that Vision Zero is doing, and you guys are involved in a lot of different areas. What do you see as your biggest area of influence? And me, as my background being in finance and accounting, one of the pieces you look at is, how do you know it? What's the data? How can you actually prove that you're making a difference? And so it's kind of two questions. One is, what do you think your biggest area of influence is? And then the second question is, how do you know? How do you know you're making a difference?
For me, it would be, first off, my personal relationships. Every partner I make, I have a unique relationship with them, and they want to partner with me, and they care about the Vision Zero message. So it's just the relationships I've formed in this position. And the other thing I would say is, through Vision Zero schools, we've been able to collect seatbelt data from year to year. And in the 2 years that I've done it, from the first year to the second year, I've seen improvement in seatbelt use in the data that we've collected. And we record when we're taking the data, and we make sure it's as accurate as possible so that the numbers are true. But that's the data I see personally is through seatbelt use and through my relationships with schools. And the other thing that I see that's really cool for me is when you give people a platform to be a leader, most people want to be leaders in their school. I'm thinking of students, they want to step up and have a voice in their school. And I think Vision Zero has created a platform for students who might not be super sporty or might not be in music or things like that. And we've given them a voice and given them a chance to be a leader in their school in a very positive way. So that's what I would say.
I would say how I know that we're making a difference, again, is those survey results. We're getting that information back to really measure where we are making a difference. And Also, oftentimes our surveys ask different questions based upon, distracted driving, impaired driving, or speed, aggressive driving. So, or not wearing a seatbelt. And the nice thing is that when we have that data, we're able to also personalize our outreach, so that we're not just going in blind. Not that that's an issue. Sometimes it's great to blanket all this traffic safety information, but it is nice to have the information going in of what do we see as the biggest issue and what should we work on. So that and the before and afters with those, we can tell that we're making a difference. We hear it when we're at booths, when we're at conferences, when we're in the public. When we hear of, I really didn't know what Vision Zero was, and now I've heard this, this, and this, we just know that we're getting out there more and more people are hearing it. Also, just hearing from people of, before this blank event or before I, saw this story, I never buckled up, but now I do. Or there's just really cool instances that, give us a reminder of why we do what we do.
What experiences have you guys had in terms of like within your friend groups? Like you've been in this, I'm not sure, Leah, how long you've been in this position or Teresa, but whether you came from a safety world or not, now you're in it, you're deep into it, this Vision Zero part. How's it affected your life day to day? I know this is a more of a personal question, but I think it's interesting for people to kind of get an understanding to see once you get a part of it. Hey, I've been in the safety council for 18 years. I'm safety Sam to my family, right? It changes our family. It changes how we look at things. What stories do each one of you have in terms of, maybe funny in some cases, but how's it changed your life personally?
So one of the big things with my friend group, is so I've been in this position for 3 years, and I never in a million years thought that I would talk about car seats with my friends, just in normal conversation. I've been able to help install some of their car seats, give them some feedback on what they should buy. And that's not something I ever necessarily thought I would be doing. Also, just having conversations about impaired driving, of like why it really is important to get that Uber, and hearing feedback from them of, my significant other saw that you were doing a checkpoint, and it really reminded him that, hey, this is something that we really need to care about. Also, one of my favorites, I would say, not necessarily that he's my friend since he's my dad, but I mean, we're friends.
I hope so. Come on.
Prior to this position, he did not buckle up. He did not. And I now love it, because even if they start to leave the driveway and my mom hasn't put her seatbelt on yet, he'll go, Leah's going to be mad at you. You need to buckle up. So I love that this has turned into a safer thing for him as well, and that he really supports my career and understands that if he were to, be in a crash and he wasn't wearing his seatbelt, I don't know if I'd ever forgive him. So it's just a little bit of that guilt helps.
How about you, Teresa?
Yeah, I would say like seatbelt use was a big thing. People got to know me as like the Vision Zero girl, or it's like, oh, you better behave, better buckle up, better drive sober. So all of those. I don't have like cool stories like Leah, I would say. Unfortunately, I would say like I've actually had to distance myself from some of my friends since I got this job. Which honestly, this job saved me in a lot of ways from going down the wrong path. That's how that changed my friend group. But I would also say I've just become passionate about traffic safety in general. Like even in my personal life, like I want to share what I'm learning. Like I learned so many new things about the traffic safety world in different groups of people, and I want to share that with people. Like it's so interesting. So it's created a lot of awesome conversations and deeper conversations with people.
Yeah, to me, I think all the billboards you do and everything else you do, those are super important. But sometimes the word of mouth from friendship to friend, to groups to whatever else, and whether it's me talking to my family and my family now talking to their friends, it really does kind of permeate out in the real world. And so what you guys do is really important. Absolutely. So appreciate that.
Cool. I think I got one more question. That's it.
All right.
Unless Chuck has anything else, but I do have one more. I just kind of wanted to ask you guys what's new, like what's on the horizon that is unique or cool that people can kind of like expect to see from Vision Zero.
Yeah, I would love to share about our DUI All-Star events that are coming up. We are partnering with the baseball teams in Minot, Bismarck, and Dickinson, and we're recognizing officers who helped get the DUIs and just recognizing those officers that have really helped protect our people in North Dakota. So June 16th is when the Minot Hot Tots are recognizing their officers. July 31st is when the Bismarck Larks are recognizing their officers. And then August 4th is when the Dickinson Battlelands Big Sticks are recognizing their officers. So yeah, those are all going to be awesome events where we invite the officers and their families to come, and people who are at the baseball game are able to really honor the men and women that have protected us throughout the year.
That's cool. Is Fargo doing it too? Or you haven't got a chance to get Fargo involved? Did you say Fargo?
Fargo was last year. So we did the eastern side of the state last year. So our hope is to go back and forth.
Yeah.
So, and we had over 20 law enforcement. It was a great night. When they got out on the field to get recognized, we had a standing ovation from the baseball crowd. So it was awesome to see.
At the Red Hawks?
Yep.
Nice. That's great. Well, I appreciate you guys being great guests. Good information. It really and truly is. And I think, hopefully people tune in and listen to it, because there's a lot of great information you guys have passed out there. And it's a really important month, Distracted Driving Month. It can really change. Just signing a pledge and doing something for a month can make a difference in somebody's life as far as going forward with that. So it's been really big for you guys to be a part of this. And a couple other things I do want to mention. First of all, it's not just the two of you, but your whole mission is, we appreciate everything you guys doing with Vision Zero and all the partnerships we've been able to do with your group. But a couple other things before we wrap up the show. We talk about Melanie Johnson, her distracted driving campaign, and she did it in collaboration with Vision Zero. But we also have another story that's been really impactful to us and to many people in North Dakota that you've been a part of. And we've talked about in this podcast before with Tom Deutscher. It's part of that Deutscher family crash. And it's really hard to talk about because those of us who know Tom and his family and how devastating it's been to his family. When in 2012, Aaron, Allison, and Brielle and their unborn baby were all killed by a drunk driver in a crash alongside I-94 while they were traveling. We hosted the Run for Change, which benefited the Deutscher Family Memorial. We did that for a number of years. And now we've transitioned from that Run for Change to the Foundation for Change Scholarship now. We just switched with that. I think that's going to be an important change for us. It's open to anyone going into some form of higher education, tech schools, or postgraduate, and every one of those people can qualify. The scholarship, it's open right now through May 30th. You can apply on our website, ndsc.org. There'll be some information right in the main page, but if you go to the Foundation for Change, the number 4, Foundation for Change, I think with our discussion today, it's just a great opportunity for us to really plug that. And the amount, it's a $2,000 scholarship, the first one. Is that correct, Tia?
Yeah.
That's going to be given out soon. I know you've been working a lot on that. What more do you want to add about that?
I just think it's really great because, like we said, it's for anybody. It can be somebody that's going to go to hair school, to 2-year school, 4-year school, postgraduate. I think, the only thing we ask is that they're writing an essay about drunk driving or impaired driving and how it's impacted their lives or what they see as far as awareness. And so I think it's a really, it's an inaugural scholarship, which is always hard giving out the first one, but I think it's such just an emotional thing for our company. But I think for anybody, it's really easy to be a part of this year.
Yeah, it's a great way for the Deutschers to give back, and it's something that they want to keep doing every year. I think it's an important part that they recognize that, hey, the Run for Change got to a point where, hey, it was a perfect time for transition in terms of the number of people that were probably participating in that. And this can be one of those things that can hopefully keep that awareness going and keep the memory of their family, the Deutscher family, out there for everybody to understand. So again, that website is ndsc.org, Foundation for Change. And remember, this month, April, is Distracted Driving Month. We have all kinds of resources on our website, ndsc.org. I know the National Safety Council has a ton of resources as well. That's nsc.org. Talk with your family, get a flyer, hang it in your business. There's so many ways for you to get involved. I know Vision Zero has probably plenty of things on your website too. And it's the beauty of all of it's free. The information is free. It's just taking the time. And I think there's a lot of people out there that can be advocates for it, including I know Leah and Teresa and everybody at Vision Zero truly can be advocates for it. So let's see what else on that one. And for the North Dakota Safety Council, there's a lot of things that we do for distracted driving. So if you're listening to this, you can take distracted driving courses. You can take defensive driving courses. We have a Live at 25 for students that we have out there. Those are all great options for you or your family to really brush up on your driving skills and talk about what life-saving information that's out there. You can take those courses by going online to ndsc.org to sign up. Take it with your family. I think that's the beauty of it. Sometimes if you go with your family, there's discussion that happens in it, and you can really take it back and you can talk about making those pledges as a family about being safe and being distracted free. So, sometimes it takes people a monetary catch in order for you to take it. Well, if you take those classes, you also can get some insurance premium discounts. And who doesn't want to save money, right? People want to save money for whatever the purposes might be. And you can also lower your points on, if for some reason you've been one of those that have got speeding tickets or whatever else, and you want to lower the points, taking one of our defensive driving courses, it also qualifies for that. So thank you. So Teresa Tome and Leah Helm, and thank you to Tia Streeter. I always forget to thank you, Tia. You're as our producer. She does such a great job. I have a lot of thanks for her on that, as she's our producer and she's our senior marketing manager. And we don't know what we'd do without you, Tia. We love you here. So that's it for Talk Safety to Me with the North Dakota Safety Council. We will have more episodes dropping soon. So stay connected, and more importantly, stay safe out there. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Talk Safety to Me, a podcast for the North Dakota Safety Council recorded at the Radio Access Studio in Bismarck, North Dakota. Find our podcast, safety training options, information about our annual conference, and more at ndsc.org. You also can listen to Talk Safety to Me on 102.5 FM and online at radioaccess.org.